Today we're gonna win the game by casting a single elephant. So here is our Quintorius combo deck, and the goal of this deck is to build our deck in a way where if we resolve a single Quintorius god, we win the game on the spot. So we do this with a combination of Quintorius' static ability, where when we cast something from exile, we drain for 2, and its -3 discover 4 ability, which lets us cast a spell from exile. So the trick to this deck is we are playing 0 cards, none at all, that cost 1, 2, 3, or 4 mana, except for cards that can copy Quintorius. Spark Double, Clever Impersonator, Mythos of Eluda. So the way this works is we play Quintorius, we are able to -3 to discover 4. We know we're going to discover one of these cards. We will cast this card from exile to trigger Quintorius' static ability, and then we'll copy the Quintorius, and then we'll do it again with the new version. Since we have 12 of these cards in our deck, we're guaranteed to deal 20 damage to our opponent just by chaining these together, and usually it's way more than that because Spark Double makes a non-legendary copy of a Planeswalker. Then we have 2 Quintoriuses on the battlefield, so every time we discover 4, we double trigger the static, plus a non-legendary copy can be copied by Clever Impersonator, Mythos Luna, and keep it on the battlefield. So in some games we end up with like 5 Quintoriuses on the battlefield, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So there's 2 questions for the deck. This is the combo. The combo's really absurd, really consistent, but there's 2 questions. One is, how do we find Quintorius? 2 is, how do we stay alive if we're playing nothing that costs 1, 2, 3, or 4 mana except for these cards? So first off, we have Trumpeting Carnosaur to help find Quintorius. Trumpeting Carnosaur, ATP Discover 5, the only cards it can discover into are Quintorius or the copying effects. So if we hit Quintorius, good, then we start the Quintorius loop, win the game. If we hit a Clever Impersonator or a Spark Double or Mythos of Eluda, then we just copy the Carnosaur and keep doing that until eventually we find the Quintorius and win the game. So we essentially get to play 8 copies of Quintorius Kand with 4 real Quintoriuses and then 4 Trumpeting Carnosaurs, which are guaranteed to eventually discover into a Quintorius. As far as how do we play a functional deck with this weird nothing that costs less than 4 mana restriction, there's actually a bunch of tricks to get around it. Like Magma Opus ramps us for 2 mana, but technically costs 8 mana. Leyline Binding, Response Resurgence, Colossal Sky Turtle, 1 or 2 mana removal that technically costs 6 or 7 mana, so it doesn't mess up our Cascade plan. We even could use like channel lands in our mana base. Discover doesn't care about lands, so we can use them as removal and still be able to do our Discover combo. And the sideboard is more of the same, really. It's a ton of split cards and lands that can interact with our opponent in the early game, but aren't going to ruin our Discover combo, because all it takes is one card, one single card that costs 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana that isn't going to copy Quintorius, and the whole puzzle falls apart. So that is Quintorius combo. That's our deck for today. Let's jump into some games and see if we can really make a deck where if we resolve a single Quintorius god, we win the game right there on the spot. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap up. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. All right, against the odds time. We are trying to win the game with a single Quintorius. And, wow, this sounds actually great. We have Quintorius, we have Ramp. Please don't counter us. Ooh, mono green. Oh, God. Are we better than the best deck in the format? Let's find out. Opponent doing nothing. That's good news. I mean, this is kind of our nut draw, right? So the good news about mono green is I don't think they can interact with us. If this is mono green devotion, they might be able to race us. Karn is kind of obnoxious. Old growth troll. I think, if we pitch this now, our opponent knows they need to stop it and play a Karn. So I think we're gonna wait, as weird as that maybe sounds. Let's play an island, pass the turn. Well, no Karn. If there's no Karn, come on, just play some random things. Oh, no Nykthos, that's good, no Karn. I mean, we win the game next turn, right? We win the game if nothing goes wrong here. I'm sure our opponent does not expect to literally die, but that's what's about to happen. Opponent gets and hits us. Sure. Oh no, down to 16, whatever will we do? All right, well, opponent passes. Magma Opus, make a treasure, and oh, here we go. Unfortunately, 2 Spark Doubles in hand, not that it really matters. Quintorius, element number 1. This deck's so jank. Discover, -3. What will we ever find with this very random mechanic? Oh, Spark Double. Okay, copy Quintorius, drain you for 2. Now we have 2 Quintoriuses. So random. Okay, copy Quintorius. Let's discover. What will we find with this random discovery? Oh, a spark double. That's actually kind of lucky with 2 in hand. We will copy Quintorius. Drain you for 4 because we have 2 Quintoriuses now. Discover. What will we find this time? Oh, clever and how are we so lucky? We keep randomly discovering things that can copy Quintorius. What are the odds? Opponent down to 8. Well, this should do it, right? One more discover with 4 Quintoriuses on the battlefield. And we find Mythos of Illuna. Copy the non-legendary one. Not that it matters here, because our opponent just dies before it even resolves. And trigger. Well, that's turn 4 kill by playing a single elephant. Let's customize our removal a bit. Oh, this deck. Beseiju can get rid of Nykthos. Also, Pithing Needle on Quintorius does shut down our combo, so Beseiju gets rid of that as well. I could see Grind being good at sniping random elves. So we can trim a couple lands because of Beseju's. Response Resurgence does not deal with hate cards. Plus, mono green, like, if they win, they're going to have this huge combo turn. So sniping a creature isn't relevant. I feel like Grinded Dust could be fine, but we might just not have room for it. Consign seems big because that can deal with Pithing Needle and Karn. Maybe we don't need a Scavenger Grounds. Like, the graveyard probably isn't that relevant. If they're like Storm the Festivaling, they're probably going to get us anyway. All right, no Grinded Dust, I guess. The dream of killing 2 elves with this is sweet, but we don't have the room. All right, well, let's just play a single Quintorius and win the game. We got the Magma Opuses. Leyline Binding's good. We don't have a good, we're going to try it. I'm very much on the fence. So the upside is, well, there's Quintorius. I mean, well, now this hand's insane. If we can just hit mana, like if we just hit lands, we can make treasures with Magma, but this hand is about as good as a hand could be now. Drawing the Quintorius was the big missing piece of the puzzle. Come on. Consign. That's not a land though. I mean, we have 26 lands. We have a lot. Might as well bounce the elf. We'll use the Colossal Sky Turtle because Consign can hit non-creatures. We're still in pretty sketchy shape if we don't draw lands. A Triumph wouldn't be bad because then it would turn on Leyline Binding. Any red or blue source for Magma Opus. Feel good. Untaps the land. Invasion of Ixalan. Says getting worse. So there's the Karn. Okay, so we need to draw land like right now. Yeah. With the Karn coming, I don't think we can win from here. I think the setup's fine. The keep might have been a little greedy. Went back and forth, and I guess we should mulligan. This hand has lands, but, well, this I think we gotta keep. I don't really want to go to 5. We put so if you're mulliganing, a lot of times it's best to put the clones back in the deck so we can find them with Quintorius, unless you got a plan on copying one of your opponent's stuff. But in our deck, we really never want to copy our stuff. Opponent Elvish Mystic, Mythos of Illuna, plus we have 1,000,000 of them. Play the Swamp and bounce the Elf. So we do need to find Quintorius. That is important. Opponent Forest, Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic. That's a lot of mana. That's a lot of mana. Play the land, untapped. I mean, I think we just make a treasure, and if we draw Quintorius, we win. That could happen. Not doing much yet, but you're going to be doing things soon. Old Growth Droll. And Llanowar Elves. Maybe they don't have a finisher. All right, let's just draw Quintorius and put an end to all of these questions. Come on, Elephant. Do we play the Triumph or do we cycle the Triumph? Yeah, let's play the Triumph. So the problem is, if we don't play the Triumph and our opponent finds a Karn this turn, we can't use a treasure, and then Storm of the Festival. Usually once your opponent starts casting Storm of the Festival, Old Growth Troll, more Nykthoses, which our opponent can activate. They don't have enough mana for another Storm of the Festival though, right? Hopefully. Okay, 7 mana, 8 mana. Third Nykthos. Okay, well, now they definitely do. Opponent up to 12 mana. Oh, this might be slipping away. Karn. Well, we are like very, very, very dead next turn. Ticks down. Oh, Pithing Needle. They're going to Pithing Needle the Quintorius. Well, I think this is it. Like, so we can bounce the Pithing Needle, end step. And we just got to pray really hard to the magic gods that we draw exactly Quintorius. We have 51 cards, 4 in the deck. Odds are not good. We're on like the 6%er. Wolf Willowhaven, sure. Quintorius this turn. It has to be this turn or we're dead. That's it. It all comes down to this one draw. Opponent hits us down to 14. Dead on board next turn. Bounce the needle. Knock the top of the deck. Oh, yes. Quinto got him. Sometimes the 7%er hits. Quintorius. It is Spark Double and sorry, Mono Green. Apparently, Double Storm the Festival on turn 4 is not enough. Quintorius, discover into Mythos of Aluna, and I mean, it's game. It's game. We got super lucky. We got super lucky to hit the Quintorius, but we also just beat the monster of the format. Like, and this wasn't like our opponent had a bad draw or anything. They had triple Nykthos, cast it all, Karn into Pithing Needle, shut down our combo, and Quintorius did not care. Opponent out at 8, Spark Double. Quintorius number 4, one more discovery, and that is how a single elephant can be literally the best deck. Literally the best deck in the format. Wow. What a top deck. What a top deck. Oh, that was sweet. So opponent's on the play. This hand, not very great. It's got lands, but that's about it. I think we mulligan. Well, I mean, this we're going to keep. Carnosaur is technically a Quintorius eventually. Ooh, opponent Rakdos. Thoughtseize. I guess probably Mythos of Aluna, sure. Well, land go. Well, I guess the question is, can we live long enough to find a Quintorius or to cast a Trumpeting Ceradon? Opponent land and Blood Tithe Havista. I mean, one of the nice things about these Carnosaurs is we can discard them to kill things if we need to. Opponent goes combat. I don't think we need to kill Blood Tithe Harvester yet, though. Oh my god. Oh, okay, that's not great. Archfiend of Dross. We draw Magma Opus. Wait, do we survive? 6, 7, 8, 9. The Magma Opus is huge because that gets us +1 mana to get us to the Trumpeting Ceradon. Well, fit in the deck. The scary thing about Rakdos, so there are ways to stop the combo, with the easiest being if we play the Ceradon and they can just kill it with the trigger on the stack, we end up dying. And Rakdos does play a lot of removal. Oh, you know what? Okay, we're going to pass. I see a way that we might be able to bait our opponent into tapping out. So I think, so if our opponent goes land, fires up Hive of the Tyrant, we die. What we want to do here, okay, opponent attacks, bounce the Archfiend to the draws. We go to 3. Hopefully our opponent just replays the Archfiend to the draws. And then they're tapped out, and then we're guaranteed to win. We dropped to 3. That's fine. Not dead. Oh, they did it. It worked. It worked. Oh, we baited them. We baited them. Our opponent could, I mean, I don't know if they have interaction or not, but they could have chosen not to recast that and left up interaction. I guess they're probably not expecting to die, but they are going to die here. Trumpeting Carnosaur. Back up Quintorius. Well, play the Dino. Discover 5. What do we find? All right, Spark Double. Copy Carnosaur. Into Spark. Well, we're using all of our Spark Doubles on Carnosaurs. Copy Carnosaur. Into Clever. Okay, where's our Quintorius? Copy Carnosaur. Into. There's the Quintorius. Okay, now we're good. Now we're good. Quintorius. Discover 4. What do we find? It's a Spark Double. Copy Quintorius, and is this deck just actually good? Maybe this deck is actually good. I mean, we beat Mono Green. Now we're playing Rakdos. That's the other best deck in the format, and we're just kind of crushing them. Quintorius number 3. Hitting a Spark Double early is always super nice, because then we can use all of our Clever Impersonators and Mythoses to copy the non-land opponent. Figures out what's happening. 4 Carnosaurs, 3 Quintoriuses. The deck's so fun. It goes from 0 to 60 very quickly. We just do nothing, hang out, try to survive, and then boom, death. Death, we got you. One card, that's all it takes. What hate cards could our opponent be playing? So Thoughtseize is a problem. We don't got to worry about counters, thankfully. Counters are, I think that's the bad matchup is counters. Response Resurgence is a little sketchy against Archfiend. Maybe we go like some Consigns. Pithing Needle, I guess, could be a thing. It's not impossible that our opponent would have Pithing Needle on the sideboard. Yeah, let's try something like that. It's going to be interesting to see. So if you don't expect this, it's going to be very easy to lose to because you're just going to tap out. So like I said, instant speed Planeswalker removal, even like, so since we have to take the first Quintorius down to 1, instant speed burn, like a Bone Crusher Giant or something, could theoretically fizzle the combo. It'll be interesting to see. All right, opponent going to duress our Leyline Binding. It'll be interesting to see how much harder it gets in game 2 with this deck. I feel like game 1, especially right now, where this deck, people don't know about it. It's like a brand new combo that no one's seen before. I feel like it's going to get a lot of people. But now that our opponent knows, do they play differently? I mean, we have the Carnosaur, which is eventually, okay, we no longer have a Carnosaur. Let's pitch the Magma Opus. It's gotta be Carnosaur, right? Although, we do have Colossal Sky Turtle. So if they take the Carnosaur, in theory, we Sky Turtle back the Carnosaur? Are they sacking up blood? Is our opponent? Ooh, our opponent might be missing land drops. Wow, discards go for the throat. Go for the throat if we have to combo with Carnosaur, it could actually fizzle. Unless we just high roll right into the Quintorius. Opponent gets and hits us down to 14. And Reckoner Bankbuster. Well, let's cycle the Zeotourus Proving Ground. Was hoping you just hit Quintorius. That would be the best. Well, I mean, this is fine, right? Play the Rafine's Tower. If our opponent taps out here, we definitely go for it. If they don't tap out, the fact that they discarded the go for the throat, yeah, opponent sees the line. Well, we're going to channel back the Carnosaur. I mean, you can't play this deck scared, right? If they have it, they have it, but like, we can't play it scared. Land. There's what, 25% chance or something we just spin into Quintorius and not a clone? Well, Carnosaur. All right, opponent. Hopefully you're on Fatal Pushes. Opponent. Wow! Scoops it up. Well, got him. And, I mean, so no literal hopeful initiate. Oh god, aggro. Well, this will be interesting. So we played combo, we played mid-range, now we got aggro. How do we do against an actual aggro deck? When you hear nothing in my deck cost has a mana value of less than 4, you would think it would be very bad against aggro, but there's so many ways to cheat on that maybe we're okay. Like, this hand technically has 3 removal spells, and then the Mythos of Aluna. We would prefer not to pitch both Carnosaurs if we could help it, because one of them could be a Quintorius eventually and win us the game, but like, in theory, we have a handful of removal here, as weird as that sounds. Opponent, Thalia. It's a little annoying. That means we can't Response Resurgence this turn, which we want to do, and it's going to start growing this Hopeful Initiate. Plains and Dauntless Bodyguard. And, ooh, Thalia's okay. Aggro on the play might be a problem. I mean, we can kill something next turn, but we're at 3rd. Oh, there's Quintorius too. So if we kill the Thalia, we need 2 turns though. We kill the Thalia, we take 7. I guess if our opponent has literally nothing in hand, we're good. So we kill something, take 7. Kill something, take 4. Quintorius win. That's the hope. Let's just do this now. Worried about our opponent having Brave the Elements, which would be devastating here. We really need this Thalia to die to have any little chance of winning this game. So opponent gets activated Dauntless Bodyguard. Still gets 3 damage off the battlefield. Opponent. Ooh. Well, that is going to do it. Yeah. Okay, mono white. Pretty aggro. Well, what do we have that can stop the onslaught? I mean, I guess we just bring in a bunch more removal. Hope they don't draw Thalia. Bounce is a little less effective. We would rather kill things because our opponent's deck's so cheap that just bouncing random 1-drops is not actually going to get us anywhere. Maybe we got on all the sky turtles. So I think you need the critical mass of the clones in the deck to make the combo work. I think we can trim a couple of them, but I don't think we want to go much above that. All right, I mean, this is another hand that does not have Quintorius. This one does. This could work. We can put Mythos to the bottom. Double removal into Quintorius. Like, this should be the kind of hand we want, right? Against aggro. We are in the play. Thalia would still be obnoxious. Recruitment officer, sure. Ooh, Leyline Binding. Okay, this is looking decent. We have a new question. Do we draw the mana? We need 2 more lands. We should be able to stay alive for a minute. We need 2 more lands to play Quintorius and win the game. There's 1. Okay, Hollowed Fountain Tap. Go. About it. 1 more mana, that's all we need. I mean, we have so much removal. We have several turns here. Let's response the recruitment officer. Opponent can save it if they want to, but make them do it. Sure. I mean, we still kill a Savannah Lion, so it's fine. Down to 60. I guess Thalia would be a little annoying. I guess it doesn't even matter, though. We can still kill it. Opponent, more Muta Vaults. I mean, this seems like the perfect draw. Opponent. We can even kill a Muta Vault if we need to. Okay, and about it. Gonna go attacking. Sure. Well, Leyline Binding. Snipe the recruitment officer. Can we please just draw an untapped land? Please, Magic Gods. Fine Finality. Okay. So it might look weird to use a Leyline Binding. We want to try to save the response resurgence from Mutavault, since we can Leyline Binding other stuff, but can't Leyline Binding a land. Opponent untaps. Hopeful Initiate, okay. And fires up the Mutavault. So we probably got to kill the Hopeful Initiate. All right. Because the Hopeful Initiate is going to start blowing up. Hopeful Initiate long term is going to be a problem. We save more damage now by hitting Dauntless Bodyguard. We just got to draw land. Snipe the Hopeful Initiate. Opponent goes to combat. Attacks. Kill it. So we take 4. Can we just please draw an untapped land, Magic Gods? This turn we'll even take a tap land. Even a tap land. Clever Impersonator. If this was Mythos of Eluna, it'd be fine because we could copy a land, but Clever Impersonator, only non-lands. It does kill the Dauntless Bodyguard. I mean, we have killed a lot of our opponent's stuff. Opponent fires up the Mutavault. Goes to combat. Luminarch Aspirant. Can we hit a land for the Elevate? Oh, hits us down to 9. Spark Double, that can't do anything. All right. Well, I mean, after all this, we have one... Oh, Coppercoat Vanguard. Okay, we have 1 turn to draw an untapped land. Why are they leaving up mana? That's a little suspicious. Okay, come on, deck. Come on, deck. Just a land, please. Please. Oh, the daggers. Oh, the Triumph. Against the odds time, we are trying to win the game by playing a single Quintorius Kand, and we're gonna mull it. Ooh, are we going to 5? That first hand was better than this. I do like the Leyline Bindings, but keeping it 1-lander seems sketchy. Well, I mean, this is okay, right? We have the Carnosaur. I mean, we're at 5, so put the clone to the bottom, put a Sky Turtle to the bottom, and see what our opponent's up to. Well, not the ideal opening hand. Yeah, let's just Gandu. Land go. Ren and Realmbreaker. Gonna mill, hit a land. What is our opponent playing? Well, crack the Fabled Passage. We might be in the very sad state of pitching a Colossal Sky Turtle to get back a land. Well, I guess it's Xander's Lounge. Do we need to Carnosaur? Yeah, let's Carnosaur the red. So we can Carnosaur the red. Play the Xander's Lounge. Okay, another turtle. So, well, yup. All right, this is like demonic tutoring for a land almost, but we're going to channel Colossal Sky Turtle to get back our Fabled Passage so we can make our land drop. Opponent has their Fabled Passage. So, I mean, I guess over the course of 2 turns, right? I guess we still need another land. We could also just draw Quintorius and not have to deal with any of this. But over the course of 2 turns, Channel, get back the turtle, do it again. Ooh, that can exile from a graveyard. Clever Impersonator. All right, not super helpful yet. Almost wish our opponent still had that Ren so we could Clever Impersonate. Ooh, Liliana. Well, I mean, I guess worst case we can copy that with Clever Impersonator. That's not bad. Opponent makes a zombie. Well, we're gonna go for it. Opponent is tapped out. We're gonna channel. We're gonna get back the Carnosaur. If we draw an untapped land, we just win the game. If we don't draw an untapped land, then oh, okay. Maybe we just draw Quintorius. That also will do. Well, nice Liliana opponent, but we have an elephant. Oh, Quintorius Kand. And discover 4 into Spark Double. Copy it. Drain ya. 2 Quintoriuses. Discover 4 into Clever Impersonator. Could this be a real deck? This might actually be a real deck. Copy Quintorius. Take down. Discover. It actually, it is very easy. You do gotta play some janky cards to make the Discover combo plan work. Normally you wouldn't want to be playing Response Resurgence or most of the deck is very, an opponent sees what's happening and scoops it up. You do have to play a lot of janky cards to make it work, but by God is the combo actually very effective. It actually does just work. It works. Look at this curve though. This beautiful pile of very expensive Magic cards. I don't know what our opponent's up to. I'm afraid they're emergent ultimatuming. Yeah, let's bring in some consigns. Bring in some scavenger grounds, maybe. And I mean, we got Quintorius. So keep. We'll see. Now our opponent knows what's up. We're not gonna catch him by surprise this game. Well, let's crack the Fabled Passage. Snag a island. We have so many lands. I guess do we play the Tram or do we cycle it? Let's play it. Oh, Narset. We're gonna need the red mana eventually. All right, opponent. Nisa. Well, yeah, I guess we just Leyline Binding the Narset so our opponent doesn't get to use it again. The other cool thing about Leyline Binding in this deck is not only is it a removable spell, but once we find one, it turns all of our Clever Impersonators and Mythos of Alunas into removable spells. Downside of Leyline Binding, it gets blown up by Binding of the Old Gods. We lose the Binding War. Opponent takes down Narset. Ren. So Narset doesn't really stop our combo. Well, it's Mythos of Aluna the Binding, but I do think we want to kill it. We're still set up where we can win the game if our opponent taps out. I expect we'll see. Maybe they just tap out. The Nissa makes it tough though, because if they can go land Nissa, they can untap and still have mana up. Okay, opponent's gonna play a Ren. Ooh. Well, that's they gotta have something. There's no way. Turns on the land. There's no way they're not playing Nissa. If they had the option, this definitely means they have some sort of interaction. They have to. Triome. Good news is we now have 2 Quintoriuses. So I think our game plan, since we have 2, might be just fire one off, expecting that they can answer it, and then do it again the next turn. Actually, okay. So if we pass, so I think what we're hoping for, our opponent playing the Nissa, turning on a land, trusting that they can use that land for mana to interact with Quintorius, but as bouncing the land with Sky Turtle. I think that's the play, rather than just firing off. Okay, so they untap an island. They're still gonna have 2 mana because of Nissa. And then ticks up. Well, if they're gonna try to make that hexproof, we will bounce it. Passing. Well, now I think we definitely gotta go for it, right? Didn't work out exactly. Opponent didn't get that greedy. They still are leaving up enough mana for a negate or something. We got 2 of them, though. We do have 2. We're not that far away from casting up Magma Opus at some point. If we treasure here, we can pay for a Mystical Dispute, which would be the kind of card our opponent could be playing. I guess it doesn't matter right now because they only have 2 mana, but that is a thing to keep in mind. Well, okay, here we go. Elephant. Wow, resolved. Okay, are you dying? Quintorius, Clever Impersonator. Copy Quintorius. Okay. Wow, do we just get them? Were they just bluffing? They had nothing? All right, Quintorius. Into Spark Double. Copy Quintorius. Opponent down to 16. And do this a couple more times. Wait, why didn't you do that last? Oh, no. Okay, there goes our Quintorius. Wow, opponent went full on greed. They waited and let us trigger Quintorius to try to wait until we get a Spark Double. Okay. Yeah, I thought we were actually going to get him. When that started to work, what a weird turd. Ichor Moon Gauntlet. I mean, that does add a lot of counters to things. Opponent. I mean, how do you expect the second Quintorius, though? Can you realistically expect double Quintorius? I don't even know if bouncing Ichor Moon Gauntlet matters here. We draw a Triumph. Well, Quintorius. Oh, disallow. What is going on? All right, now they get to ultimate their stuff. Okay. Well, opponent, well played, I guess, in a weird way. Disallow. Well, yeah. Let's see if we can get him in game 3. The difference of our opponent knowing what we're trying to do and not knowing. When they don't know, they don't leave their stuff up and we get them really easily. Once they know and they start trying to play around it and they bring in their sideboard cards, then it becomes a little bit more challenging. And our opponent was a good example of that. Like, we're very, very careful. Once we got to the point where we could theoretically Quintorius and win, they were very careful to always leave mana up, always leave up the threat of interaction at least. Well, this hand has double Quintorius. Actually triple Quintorius if you count the trumpeting Ceradon. Well, play the land. We do need lands. We would really love to just draw lands. That would be sweet. I mean, we have an answer in Leyline Binding. I don't know if there's any point in answering it right now. I mean, I guess it plays around counters, but probably better to let our opponent feel safe under the Pithing Needle and then... we would have really liked to draw land there. Our best bet might be to let our opponent feel like Pithing Needle is their protection. And then, when we actually get to the point where we can combo off, snipe it instant speed with a Leyline Binding, untap, just win the game. So they don't have time to leave up interaction or whatever. This is all dependent on us drawing lands, which is becoming a concern. Opponent, land, Bazes. All right. It's a tap land, but that's fine. We weren't doing anything this turn anyway. Growth Spiral. Ooh, and a land. Sure. Cultivate. So opponent's going to have all the mana. I mean, we probably got to do it, right? Oh, no, they still have their mana up. All right, there's no point. So we have the mana. So now it's just a matter of waiting for the window. We need our opponent to just tap out. You got the Pithing Needle. Everything's under control. The Pithing Needle got it covered. That's what we need. Our opponent just tap out because they got the Pithing Needle and then we win. Our opponent's going to play it so conservative. Well, this might end up being a bit of a battle. Our opponent is not going to tap down, are they? All right, so how do we get our opponent to tap down? Opponent drawing lands. That's good for them, bad for us. Let's Clever Impersonator. See if this gets a counter out of our opponent's hand. Copy the Pithing Needle, and I guess put it on Nissa? We could have copied the Treasure. I think that's worse, though. This is a show of weakness. This makes our opponent think, okay, Leyline, why did they bring that in against us? Okay, there's a land. We could run out the Ceradon, but then we got to spend our Treasure. Well, now I almost wish we did Clever Impersonator or Treasure. The worst impersonator of all time. Come on, opponent. I wonder if they're playing Ugin. Also, what if they really do have Emergent Ultimatum? That would be bad. We do have double Leyline Binding. All right, Leyline Binding. See if this draws a reaction. Well, Leyline Binding the Needle. Well, I mean, we have technically 3 Quintoriuses in hand, so I think we cast one. Cast an Elephant and just cross our fingers. Opponent has so much mana. What else are we gonna do? Yeah, let's do it. Quintorius number 1. Disallow. Well, that's fine. We got to disallow out of our opponent's hand. Sooner or later, something was gonna eat that. I guess the Leyline Vorin. Oh, it's got to be Emergent Ultimatum. We could sack the Treasure to binding it. So we go to 12. Yeah, I think we can take this down to 12. We draw land, which is fine. We can just clever impersonator. I mean, we do need to get rid of Vorinclex, because if they can find a way to stick a Planeswalker with that out, we just get wrecked. Well, let's copy a Leyline Binding, get rid of the Vorinclex. This has developed into a weird... We've had so many just free roll wins with this deck. We're just kind of like, cast the Quintorius, win the game. This one has not been that. Not even close. This has been a weird slog. All right, another Quintorius. Let's try this again. Well, okay, resolves. We saw a bitter triumph, though. So it still doesn't mean we're good necessarily. What if we uptick? Is there any... No, we can't play that afraid, can we? I mean, we gotta go for... Okay, tick down. About it. What? Yeah. We've been... Oh, we should have sacked that treasure. Oops. Okay, so opponent gets back the Pithing Needle. We cascade into a Mythos of Aluna, which copies Vorinclex, I guess. Oh, Test of Talents. Well, all right, Leyline Binding. Get rid of the Vorinclex. So there goes all of our Mythoses. Do we still have enough clones to win if we do Quintorius? Who plays Cyclonic Rift? Yeah, let's just discard a Ceradon. We might end up in this weird position where we need to cast these clever impersonators on removal. Opponent gets and hits us down to 8. Well, we're running out of time. We need to make something happen in the near future. I mean, they know we have Quintorius, so they must have a plan for it, right? Quintorius. Unless that was just Desperation Cyclonic Rift. Well, we got a Leyline Binding to get rid of the needle. All right, here we go again. Discover. We really would have liked a Spark Double, Clever Impersonator. Hit you to 18. Copy it. Do it again. Yeah, this is tough with all those Mythoses gone. Okay, there's a Spark Double. Drain ya. Okay, copy it. Wait, do we have enough to win, though? I don't know if we have enough clones left in our deck. Spark Double. We have 3 in hand. The Mythoses are gone. Do we have enough? Mythoses are gone. 1, 2, 3 Spark Doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2 more in our deck? Opponent. Oh no, one's a Leyline Binding, isn't it? Wait. Okay, we should have 1 more, right? Grow Spiral. We have 1 more. Okay, there's our last clone. 1, 2. Did we get that? Oh, the food. Wait, do they go to 1? Oh, that's awkward. Yeah, that Test of Talents on Mythos of Aluna, very awkward. What are the chances? Test of Talents. Opponent says good game, but I don't think we actually necessarily have the game here. We don't have a way to cast something from exile, so we don't have a way to trigger the static ability. What a strange scenario, opponent. Nisa. What a super strange world. All right, so opponent turns on the land. I mean, we can just make a million tokens, which, wow, this Leyline's actually paying off, because otherwise we'd have a huge graveyard and we'd ultimate this Quintorius. This very awkward looking Leyline actually, like, kind of insane for our opponent. Copy more Quintoriuses. We can copy Nissa and then Spark. How do we actually win this game? We need 1 point a day. I mean, in theory, if nothing goes horribly wrong, we just uptick and make a bunch of tokens, and that'll win eventually, right? Clever Impersonator. Opponent still has the ability to crack a food, too, so they can go up to 4. So now our 4 is tapped for double. Wow, we were trying to piece this together in the most awkward way. Yeah, let's Spark Double. Copy the Nissa. So now we have 2 Nissas. We're still 1 point short of lethal, though, because of this food. Untap the land. Nissa, untap the land. What a wild game. I will say this deck is so cool, but sometimes it plays boring matches because you just kind of steamroll people. This game is very weird and interesting. All right, so bounce the cottage. Get rid of that issue. Opponent sacks the food. Yup, goes up to 4. Yup. Well, I mean, I guess we just make a bunch of tokens and hope that nothing horrible happens. Ultimating doesn't do anything because our graveyard. Maybe this ley line was actually next level brilliant. Our opponent, if they didn't have this ley line, they would be dead. We'd exile something and cast it and kill them like easily. We just gotta cast one thing from exile. Well, make a bunch of Quintorius tokens, and then go to combat. And actually, you know what? We win next turn no matter what. We don't win this turn no matter what. So maybe we just bounce the Nissa to slow our opponent down. How do we lose? Is like, I don't know, some random Ugin shenanigans. I'm still scared of Emergent Ultimatum just because I know what that card does. All right, opponent. Nissa returns. This has gotta be enough. We're in the, okay, main phase cycling. Oh, jeez. What a game. That was a ridiculous grind, but in the end, we pieced it together. Wow. I didn't know it was possible to run a combo pieces with this deck, but the test of talent's brutal. But yeah, sometimes you make some tokens and get them that way. Ooh, Yariane up against some control, perhaps. Sand looks pretty good. Could use a little more mana, especially of the colors that let us pitch Magma Opus. But all right, opponent. Plains. Well, I mean, that is mana. We could also just naturally get to 5 lands and cast Quintorius. Opponent plays a forest. Ooh. All right. Well, 2 turns away from victory. The countdown is on. Opponent plays a Triome. Well, play the land, pass the turn. All right, opponent. Would you like to cast something using your manas? All right. Well, GG. Opponent casts a Pneumatic Incarnation. The bad news for our opponent is we have enough mana to cast a Quintorius. Opponent, nothing to sack. Well, yeah, play the Elephant. And let's do some very random discovering. What will we find this time? Oh, Clever Impersonator. Copy Quintorius, trade you. Down to 18. New Quintorius. Do it again. What about this time? Mythos of Aluna. Not as good as hitting the spark doubles. Not that it really matters here. Like, this is deterministically going to be the game. Take down Quintorius. Clever wow, where's all of our spark doubles? All at the bottom of the deck this time. Hit you to 14, copy Quintorius. And Quintorius. Mythos of Aluna. Copy Quintorius. Oh, still no spark double. We're hitting all the non-spark doubles. Well, take it down. I mean, it's just, okay, there's a spark double finally. It doesn't matter as far as winning the game. It just slows it down because we're only getting 1 static each time. Well, discover 4. Spark double. Quintorius. Yeah, down to 6. And 1 more discovery. How about a Mythos of Aluna? Drain ya. And, well, that was about as fast as this deck can win. That was just turn 4 combo kill, wasn't it? I mean, sometimes you just turn 4 them. So opponent's Enigmatic Incarnation. Beseju seems good. I guess Consign to Oblivion also seems better than Response Resurgence. Response Resurgence, I don't know, maybe Consign to Oblivion is better in the main. What is, if you're watching this, I'm curious. So the biggest issue I think with this deck is beating counter spells. How do we beat counter spells? What is the solution to that problem? I guess maybe just some big uncounterable, like Chandra in the sideboard or something. Maybe that's the best option. Chimmel would be kind of funny. The thing is, like, so if you play Chimmel and start discovering, the problem is it happens end step. So it's not like you can Chimmel, discover Quintorius, start the combo, you gotta wait a whole turn without on the battlefield. So, but it does make your stuff uncounterable. But then it's just like essentially eating the counter, right? Like your opponent would just have to counter that first. So it still doesn't necessarily beat counters, it just eats one. It might be Chandra Awakened Inferno. That might be the best option. But I do think that's the biggest weakness of the deck, is if like your opponent just never taps out and always leaves up their counter, it becomes very hard to, you gotta try to do weird like pressure them with your magma opuses and just very weird wonky ways to get them to like try to tap down. Very not realistic. This hand's fine. I like all of our removal. No real Quintorius, but we do have a Ceradon. So if we get to 6 mana, Ceradon will find our Quintorius for the win. Opponent grabs a Schwamp. Mythos of Illuna could do something this game, maybe. Yeah, we'll play it untap so we can Leyline Binding if we need to. The big thing's Enigmatic Incarnation. We don't want that doing things. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Well, I guess we can just consign the token, probably. Stop the treasures. Spark Double. Also not a land. Well, pass the turn. Gonna do a little looting. I guess we're kind of rooting for them to have Enigmatic Incarnation because we can just snipe it with a Leyline Binding. Get it over with. Definitely rooting for a land. A land would be the best. All right, opponent untap land and no Incarnation. Interesting. Get rid of the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Getting one down is fine because it turns on, okay, Magma Opus. Getting one down is nice because it turns on the Mythos of Illuna. There's the Omen of the Sea. This deck just does such a weird deck. It does so much nothing and then it does everything all at once. We're in the do nothing stage of the deck at the moment. Opponent 2 to the bottom. Well, that's good. At some point they're gonna slam an Enigmatic Incarnation. I mean, they are a Yarion deck, so maybe they just haven't found it yet. 80 cards is a lot. Nylea's Presence. Redraws. Well, let's pitch the Magma Opus. Grab a treasure, untap. Well, okay, that is a land. So while Ceradon is definitely like super important because I can find Quintorius, it is the weaker way to combo because creature removal can disrupt it. Okay, there's the Incarnation. We're gonna hope we draw land. Opponent's mostly tapped down. Like, if we draw land here, we should be good to combo. Okay, opponent passes. Another Ceradon. Between Mythos of Illuna, like, all right, let's just hit the, we could hit a land, but we should find a land off this Omen of the Sea, right? And then also have, well, okay, we find a Quintorius. Not exactly a land, but close enough. Mythos of Illuna is such a sweet card. I love that card. Every time I play Mythos of Illuna deck, I like it. It's just like being able to, ooh. Okay. Wait, that doesn't actually shut down Quintorius combo, does it? It would have shut down the Ceradon combo, but I don't think it stops Quintorius. Because at this point, all of these are going to trigger anyway. Yeah, that's so funny. If we were stuck on Ceradon, then Alice Shorn is just the hard counter. Instead, Quintorius comes through, Mom can't stop it, and that's how you win the game by playing a single element. I gotta say, this deck's kind of really sweet and might actually be really good. Sweet. So what do we learn this week about Quintorius combo? And the deck's really interesting. So record-wise, went 5-4 overall, which is a pretty winning record, actually. Like, not an absurd record, but it's actually, like, pretty good. So the combo itself, really consistent. Like, it really is a deck where if we resolve a single Quintorius Kand, we just win the game. And we saw that many times over. The combo is, like, absolutely hilarious, but there are some issues with the combo. The biggest one is counter spells. I played a game against Control. I didn't put it in the video because it was, like, one of the boringest matches of Magic I ever played. It was just, like, me doing nothing forever, hoping my opponent would eventually tap out and they would never tap out. So it was like an hour-long match of just nothing happening until eventually they found a way to kill us. So the problem is we don't really have a way to fight through counters because of the weird mana value restriction where we can't play cheap things. It's not like we can play a Thoughtseize or a Mystical Dispute or a Dovin's Veto because that would ruin our Discover plan. So we're pretty much just hoping our opponent doesn't have counters, which is an awkward place to be. So I don't know, there might be some solution to this. Maybe it's like a 6 mana uncounterable Chandra in the sideboard to bring in against Control decks, but Control is a legitimately miserable matchup. The good news is the combo's like really consistent, and because of all these weird cost reduction effects, and because of how split cards interact with Discover, you can actually play a like really functional, like good curve, even though technically nothing in your deck costs less than 4 mana, which is so strange. So the combo's really good, it just really struggles against counter spells. So if you got some ideas about how to make this into a deck that's not only really consistent and cool and unique, but can also beat control decks, definitely let me know, because I think this deck is like super close to being a real competitor in a format like Pioneer Explorer. So anyway, that's Quintorius Combo. That's been our deck for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Looking for even more Magic? Well, check out the video where we played some caves on a budget in Standard, or maybe the one where I explain the MTG Iceberg.